Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day.
I'm going to buy a Longines. And I've bought Longines over the years. In fact, I've tried several awesome models in my time as a watch enthusiast, but I'm particularly drawn toward the Heritage Collection. And I don't think I'm alone in liking the Heritage Collection more so than some of the other contemporary models from Longines. And I'd like to say, for a Swiss brand that's part of the Swatch Group that carries a very respectable amount of the Swiss market share for watches sold annually, I love the fact that Longines devotes resources and they develop this kind of niche collection, the Heritage Collection, that doesn't, at least in my opinion, appeal toward the average consumer, the non-crazy watch obsessive or enthusiast, the sane person that walks into an authorized dealer and just wants to buy a nice Swiss watch. You know, the fact that they develop the Heritage Collection that appeals not toward the average consumer, but more toward us watching this video that love the retro or the vintage-inspired designs that are a little off the beaten path, maybe a little bit eccentric or individualistic. Maybe that's a better word to describe it. So I just like the fact that they're paying attention to this line. And at least for me, they are the most appealing models in the Longines product catalog. So I'm kind of like a fat kid in a candy store right now. I've got 3 awesome chronos. You guys can see these massive wood presentation boxes here stacked up next to me on the desk. We're going to take a look at 3 of the models. Now, I mentioned I'm looking to buy a Longines, and I've bought multiple Longines in the past. I don't have a Longines in the collection at the moment. I really enjoy cycling through watches and trying as many as possible, enjoying as many as possible. I know that's maybe a minority of us as watch collectors. A lot of us like to buy and keep. I don't make rules for myself. But anyways, I'm looking for a chronograph. And so I have 3 that, again, are of particular interest to me. And I'd like to talk about each one here. We'll flip the camera around. We'll go in on a desk view, and we'll take a look at some of the most compelling chronographs in the Longines collection. So I have the 3 here in front of the camera, and let's start with the Avigation Big Eye. I think this one will be the most popular of the 3 that I have on the desk here. This is the titanium version of the Big Eye, which is nice to see Longines expand upon this specific model. And I've owned the steel version, the black dial variation. I think I bought that when it first came out back in 2018. And that watch was a GPHG award winner. It won the Revival Prize. And it is based off of a model that Longines has no record of. So the original watch that this design comes from was brought to them from a respected collector, and they had no record of, when the watch was produced and whatnot. So they took the watch and they basically reissued it in 2018 with the steel version of the Big Eye. Now, this titanium variation, I think, is particularly compelling because it has this dial that Longines calls the petroleum dial, which is a highly texturized fume dial with a unique shade of blue that works surprisingly well with the black sunken sub-registers and the old radium tone of superluminova found on the handset and found on your printed Arabic markers. That paired with the honey-colored strap with the tack stitching, the darker tone of the titanium, and this becomes a completely different watch. It does carry more of a premium than the steel version with the all-black dial, but I think this one is more visually sharp, and I like the lighter nature of the titanium. Now, I don't know what grade of titanium this is, but I think this is a very compelling watch, one of my favorites, and it would be great to get back into the Big Eye because I no longer have that steel version that I had or that I purchased back in 2018. Now, the nice thing about this, it has a great movement, and it's a shame because you can't see it through an exhibition crystal in the back of the watch. This has a closed case back, and so you don't see the finish work. You don't see the blued column wheel in this L688 movement. So if I were to purchase this, I would be highly tempted to have a custom case back created for this watch, because I think the value here, the great value, is mostly in the movement, even though the design, the history is very unique and very quirky, very individualistic. So that's the big eye. I think it's a great watch. Now, going toward another Avigation model, this is the Type A-7 from Longines. It's based off of a monopusher design from 1935 that was issued to various members of the U.S. Army Air Corps, which was a predecessor of the U.S. Air Force. And so the cool thing about this is the off-axis orientation of the dial. It's rotated toward the right, and it's a very distinctive look. And really what it's meant to do is to aid pilots as they're wearing the watch as they're flying, so they don't have to adjust their wrist with their hands on the control stick on the flight controls. They're able to easily read the time at a glance. And so I think that's really cool. It had a purpose. It's not just to be a conversation starter or a quirky, endearing design element. It's really purpose-driven as a tool, as an instrument. And I like that. Now, there's an onion crown at the traditional 130, but, again, on this specific off-axis dial, it's at the 12 o'clock position, and the actuation is very sharp. We have the L788 caliber within, and again, this is a monopusher chronograph, so you first press it to engage the chronograph, and then you press it again to stop, and then the third time will automatically reset the chronograph. So this one is just super cool and kind of reminds me of a pocket watch, just with the rounded shape and the off-axis crown and monopusher. It's a really cool piece. Now, I think stylistically, this is probably the most divisive of the three. It will also have, in my opinion, the nicest finishing. The polishing on this watch is Grand Seiko level. It's incredibly crisp and deep. And you can look at very defined reflections all throughout this round case. Not a perfect watch. We have 21 millimeter lugs, which is a little bit disappointing if you want to play with strap options. The anti-reflective coating is not the best on this one. Again, you can't see the movement. There are a few niggles that I have, but it is a very, very cool watch. Now let's go to the last one here. This is called the Heritage Classic Chronograph, also known as the Tuxedo. And I think this is one of the more satisfying dials that I've filmed, that I've ever filmed. It is very strong because of the intricacy and because of the fine execution, because of the retro design. It really is a near one-to-one of an original chronograph from 1943, so World War II era. Same proportions, same fonts, same colors, just very, very sharp. And it's also a full design. There is a lot going on visually here, but I think it all works. It's balanced. It's all in harmony. I like the silvery effect of the ivory colored dial, the black printing that creates the tuxedo effect. I love the heat blued hands that stand out and complement those muted ivory and black colors of the rest of the watch. I like the fact that your tachymeter indexing here not only has the original font and railroad track, but it has blue printing, so that works well with the blued handset. The whole watch is very subtle. I love the polished leaf hands. I like how those tie into the polished surrounds of the bicompact sunken sub registers. This is just such a beautiful dial that draws me in, that I appreciate, the intricacy and the detail work, the design, and the execution. Now, this one is a little bit different from the other two. They all have different movements, but this one is a modular-based chronograph. So there's a chronograph, essentially a module affixed to the A31 ETA base movement. So it's a little bit taller, but it is a proprietary module developed by ETA, and they've been able to get it to the right dimensions to create or recreate the chronograph from 1943. So I think this one is the most wearable of the bunch. It's the most comfortable of the bunch. And I just like the fact that they're all different. They're all unique. They all have something that really draws me in. And I appreciate that very much. So a couple things about these three. They're right in between, I think retail price, the lowest one is $3,300. The most expensive one is $3,675. So they're very close in terms of price. They all have silicone balance springs, 5-year warranties. They're all adjusted and finished very well, but they're not chronometers. And it's a shame you can't see these great movements through exhibition windows. Now, I get it. You don't want to have a crystal on a retro-inspired or a vintage-inspired model, but I think we can throw that out the window. I would love to see that. I would think that would add value to these models. So really sharp models. And that being said, I'm going to turn the camera around and let's wrap up this video. This is where I'm at right now. And by the time you're watching this, I still need to edit. I still need to upload. It's still in the queue of videos that I have prepared. So by the time you're watching this, I will have likely made a purchase decision. But 2 of the 3 are really sticking out in my mind. And I've been going back and forth between which one. 1 minute, it's the Avigation Big Eye in titanium with that petroleum fume dial, the highly texturized dial. I think that is such a dang good watch. And then the next minute, I'm thinking about the Tuxedo Chronograph, and I'm looking at the intricacy, the detail work of the dial that is such a nice execution, and it is very uncommon. It's not popular, like the Big Eye is. I think most of you watching this, your favorite is the Big Eye, and it's probably not close. The Big Eye is awesome, and I've owned the steel one, like I mentioned. But man, this Tuxedo, I've been going back and forth between the 2. So it will be one of the 2. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I will have likely, again, made a decision by the time you're watching this video. And that's not to throw shade on the A7. I think it's such a cool watch. And I would love, an off-axis dialed watch in the rotation at some point. I think the most famous one is probably the Vacheron Constantin American Historiques. I don't even know how to say it. You can laugh at me if you want. I won't blame you at all. But that watch, I don't know. That one is a beautiful piece. And I think probably the most famous off-axis dial in the eyes of watch enthusiasts. But this A7, it's really up there. I think this one would be fun. Here's the thing, guys. I have people that reach out to me and they say, Bruce, I'm considering buying this Longines or this Oris or this Doxa or this Tag Heuer, or what do you think about this Tudor versus this Omega versus this Breitling? They're going through the same thing that I go through on a regular basis. Which one? And they ask me my opinion because oftentimes I've tried the watch or I have reviewed the watch here on the channel. And I have, how do I say this? I have a hard time giving helpful advice because it's like going toward the fat man in the candy store saying, well, which candy should I buy? I'm only going to buy one. That fat man like me, I'm going to go, well, you should try this one. You should try that one. You should try this one. The right answer is all of them. Try all of them. But it's not always the practical answer or the healthful answer. So I usually say it's not which one you should try. It's which one first. Do it responsibly. If they don't overlap in the collection at the same time, that's not a big deal. You'll have tried the watches that have captured your imagination. So that's likely what I will end up doing here with Longines. Right now it might be the Big Eye or the Tuxedo Chronograph, and maybe next year it's the Longines Legend Diver or the Ultra Chron or something else that they haven't come out with yet. And it's okay to try as many as possible, but just do it in a way that works for you. So again, I'm looking forward to purchasing one of these, and I'm going to shout out Exquisite Timepieces. They are the authorized dealer that have lent in some awesome Longines models over the past couple months. And obviously you guys can see I've got this big old stack of Longines boxes here that they have lent in. So great customer service, great selection. When I make my purchase, it will be through Exquisite. So I'd like to shout them out, and I'll place their contact information in the description of the video. I have a big old box just out of frame here. And when I send the watches back, there will be one less in the box that's going back to Naples, Florida. So thank you for watching today, guys. Again, remember, I'm going to be reviewing each one of these models separately in their own videos. So if you have a specific question, I'm going to do my best to try to help out and answer those. So place them in the comment section. Again, thank you guys. Have a great day. And I'll see you next time.